That's right back, Charlie.
You always use that active red flag defending. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on. And with an introduction like that, what more can I say? People deluded, I'm back again. Obviously, Declan Rice has been linked with Arsenal. Who better yet than a West Ham fan? Gonzo, how are you doing? I appreciate you for tuning in, and I appreciate you for coming on the channel with myself. Yeah, man, how you doing?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. Was that you scoring that goal?
Yeah, man, one goal wonder, man. That's my grandkids, my unborn grandkids are going to know about that one, man.
That's
so when I'm trying to tell them about football, they'll listen.
That's a screamer. Congratulations. I don't think I've ever scored a goal like that. Well, maybe against my son in the garden. I have to push him over first, and score. But yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, mate.
I appreciate that, man. Again, the only reason I scored that because I thought they were about to win the ball. So I thought, let me buy a raffle ticket. And fortunately, I won the lottery, man. Like I said, big up yourself for tuning in. If you're not following the Hammers chat, information's in the description. It's tagged in the title. So go and support the Hammers. I mean, I only support one club in London, but if there's one I have a soft spot for, it would be West Ham. You hate Chelsea, you hate Spurs, you're an ally of mine. So let's get into it, man. First things first, obviously, Declan Rice. What do you make of this news to Arsenal? Did it take you by surprise that Arsenal were in for him? Because I assumed he'd go Chelsea one day.
It doesn't seem like a surprise now because the Arsenal rumour's been around for a good 6 months. Look, he was a Chelsea boy. His family originally, Chelsea season ticket holders, his best mates, Mason Mount. He was at their academy. They released him at 14. It always seemed his destiny that he would go back there. But the timing for Chelsea has been, I guess, atrocious for Declan Rice. You've had the Abramovich stuff. Todd Bowley's come in. He's got couple of managers wrong, hasn't he? They've not even qualified for Europe next season. And if you listen to Declan when he was speaking at the World Cup, his reasoning for leaving, he training with all these great players for England and they play Champions League football and he wants to go and play Champions League football. So Chelsea just can't be an option, can it?
I mean, that was my fear around with Saka with a new deal. Like the point you just said about when they all go off to international duty, I can see your logic because I thought, if Saka's speaking to the Grealishes of this world, you can't help but be ambitious. As you know, you've only got one sort of career, really and truly. You mentioned it. What did he specifically say around December times for those who didn't know around the World Cup?
He was asked, he sat next to Gareth Southgate in the press conference. And they asked about his future at West Ham, and they said, what's it like mixing with these players? And he said, look, I'm not going to lie to you. I see these players and they're playing Champions League football, and that's eventually where I see myself playing one day. He's been as kind as he can be, Declan, without actually saying, yeah, I want to leave. So I think it's enough messaging, having it out there that he wants to go. But you've got to remember he's a great guy, lovely guy. But he is a ruthless individual. He's going to look after himself. He played football for Ireland. He played under-21 football for Ireland. And then as soon as England came along and there was the chance to better himself, and sorry if there are any Irish people watching that. Look, my dad's Irish. I'm a bit Irish myself, right? But he had a chance to go to a bigger side, which England are a bigger side than Ireland, and he chose to do it. So this is the way he's planned out his career, really. And we can't have too many complaints. He's played hundreds of games for West Ham.
You're right there, man. I think he's played over 200 odd times. I'm kind of jumping ahead, but in the topic of, Declan Rice speaking, one thing I've liked as a non-West Ham fan is he always fronts up to the music. Like it sounds cliche. He should be able to do that. He should be media trained and he's the captain. But he's always, especially when you've had the season you lot had, excluding, the Europa Conference League win. Congratulations. His comments haven't always gone down well. Do you think that's a potential problem of his? Because I think he's almost too honest, which I don't see nothing wrong. But as you know, football's a tribal game.
He's a very, very strong character. I'll tell you a story. About 3 years ago, I did a series of videos. He's changed his agent. His agent's now his dad. And I thought his agent was in his ear a little bit too much. And I said so on a number of videos. Anyway, one day my phone pinged and I had a Twitter message and it was actually from Declan Rice.
Wow.
What? And he just said, just to let you know, mate, he said, there's no way I'm influenced by my agent. He said, I make my own decisions. And So, you know, he said, really like your videos, but you've got that wrong. And I thought, wow. And I think he was 19 at the time. I thought, wow, that takes something really to go and do that.
Man.
He didn't make a noise about it. He contacted me, and also he didn't hold a grudge because actually popped on one of our videos probably about a year or so later. He came on our review. Honestly, we were doing StreamYard using what you're using now, and you know you've got the little like green room bit. Basically, it's someone that works with us, Charlie. He'd got the code, the join code off of Charlie. He wasn't able to. It was, I don't know if you remember that time where they were all having a collective sort of abstinence from social media. There was a big thing. No one's going to use social media this weekend.
The media blackout and things. Yeah, I remember that period.
That's the one. But if that same weekend he was suspended, he couldn't play. So he just came on. He said, "Look, guys, it's doing my head in. I can't play. I've not travelled with a team. He was sat home. He was sat on his bed, right? And he said, I can't post on social media. I'm coming to join you lot with a review." So he didn't even hold a grudge. Declan Rice, a remarkable young man.
I mean, like you said, I mean, I've always thought he's a remarkable young man, but finding out that story, it's just even more ridiculous, really. And that's something I like because obviously it's been a great season in terms of cups for you lot. You lot won the what do you call it again, the FA Youth Cup, and he was actually there. He was at the ground. He was celebrating with the younger players and things, and that's something we want to like, because at Arsenal it seems like, as well as your ability, Mikel Arteta is a stickler for you fully immersing yourself in the culture and things like that. What did you make of David Solomon's comments in the aftermath of you obviously winning the Conference League?
I just thought, like, day after, you know, I just thought, leave it alone. He can't. Our owner can't help himself, really. Everyone knows he's going. Declan knows he's going. But even Declan was saying, "Look, can I just walk around with the trophy a bit? Do the." He even did it before we'd done the open top bus parade. He just can't help me, honestly. He goes on TalkSport, our owner, and he just can't help himself, really. Everyone knows. We just don't need to say it. And, you know, let Declan have a couple of days partying. Do you know what I mean? And it didn't affect him. He's so strong-minded. Honestly, you've really. I'm sure we'll talk about what he's like as a footballer in a minute. But let me tell you what you do have there. You've got an exceptional human being. You're actually getting a captain. So before we've even spoken about kicking a ball, you've got someone's captain material, leadership. He's a funny guy. He gets on with everybody.
Yeah.
And he never gets injured.
That's the best thing that you've said. He never gets injured, because at Arsenal, you know, again, historically, I know Tierney's not our first choice anymore, but the Tierneys, the Tomiyasus, the Thomas Parteys, I always say, for all your ability, the best trait you could have, especially if we want to challenge for trophies, is availability. Now, there might be a bit of an Arsenal tax. He might finally get injured, hopefully not, but he seems to be ever present, really. If we talk about him as a footballer, because you set it up perfectly, you know, many people question the price tag and correlate that to the player. Do you think he's necessarily worth the 100 million or any of the fees floated?
I think he's probably the best midfielder of his type in the Premier League. So it depends if you think there's a value, and that's awful lot of money. I mean, football's crazy with its money anyway. If you're looking round about a British record transfer fee, I think so, because Declan does have it all. He really does. We had a bit of this before, and I'll tell you what will happen now. Remember years ago, I've got the benefit of age on my side. I remember Michael Carrick coming through, and Michael Carrick was outstanding.
Oh, we wanted him at Arsenal, man.
Well, the thing was, he was brilliant at West Ham. And he went to Tottenham, and he went to Man United, and people said, "Hold on, he's quite a player now. He's really developed there." Truth of the matter was,
football's a fickle game, man.
It is, and Declan is brilliant at West Ham. And unfortunately, it takes us to actually play a team for them to realise how good Declan is in the press. Maybe he's not a match of the day player. He's really not. You've got to watch the 90 minutes, but you know about it when we rock up and we play your team. Even if we lose, you will notice that Declan Rice is top quality, because he can tackle, he can head the ball, he can pass, he can dribble. He's got quick feet. So if he's surrounded by players, he started to score goals. If you look at his highlights from this season, look at his goals. They're not tap-ins. These are exquisite goals.
He's a good finisher when the chance approaches. Yeah.
You know, they do those videos like maybe Soccer Saturday, or maybe, you know, they get some videos on YouTube, and you get some personalities. They go down to the training ground and they do the crossbar challenge and top bins and all that. If you ever watch any of those videos, look at Declan's technique. And I know he used to be a centre back, but he's at all the techers and all the stuff. He's up there with Ben Rama and Lanzini. He's doing that sort of stuff. He's technically very, very good. There's not a lot not to like about him as a footballer, really.
I mean, you're right. And it's something that I've always said about Declan Rice, not just because he's linked with Arsenal. I think, like you said, he's never going to be, respectfully to him, a player that you're going to spend the match day money to go and watch, because he's not a Payet of this world. But I think his role in the team is really underrated. You miss him when he's not there. And you touched on when you play our teams. That's why we dropped points against you lot when we went ahead and then bottled it, because he's nicked it off Partey. And that's what I like about him. I wouldn't quite say he's a blank canvas because he's a captain. He's played 20 odd times, etc. But I think there's many more gears to his game. And I don't know, I'd like to know your thoughts. Do you feel in a more possession-based team you'll see different sides? Because as you mentioned, he can score goals. He does get up and down the field. It seems like it's more men in the trenches at West Ham.
Well, you're not going to see as many recoveries, is because he's not going to need to, because we don't have the ball very often for more than 30% of the time. So there's a reason his tackles and his interceptions are up there, because he has to. Make no mistake about it, though. He's got a football brain. It's really evident. And we've got Paqueta and Lanzini in the team, who are probably our two other players that are switched on like that. They all lend the ball to one another. Declan does two things. Number one, Declan is not afraid to receive the ball when he's marked, which is a hallmark of a good player. You'll know this stuff's second nature to you, because you got all these footballers at Arsenal. You've got Odegaard and you've got Saka and all these players that are comfortable with the ball. But when you get a player like that at West Ham, they stand out. That's why we make a fuss of Payet, or we make a fuss of Ravel Morrison, because generally we've got a load of workers. We can't have that many flamboyant players. So Declan Rice is comfortable, and he'll say, I don't care if I'm marked, pass it to me. I'm good enough to retain the ball. The other thing that he does is he recognises when someone else has that trait. So he'll be able to join in, and he passes and he moves, and it sounds like such a simple thing, but so many players don't do that pass and then move into space, and he'll really complement. So are you going to see as many tackles? No. Will you see more goals? Yes. He's also really developed his left foot at the moment, and he's really started to develop his long range passing, switch the play to the other wing. You know, I can see him with his right foot, maybe picking out Martinelli with a long ball to sort of transition.
Oh, you're wetting my appetite, mate.
Oh,
man.
sorry.
You need to get it done today, man, but I cut you off.
No, it's fine. I don't think you've got anything to worry about. His dad has said he wants to join Arsenal. He's he don't live far. He lives about 10 miles from here. Actually, he's very, very settled in his home. He's a father now. I'm surprised more footballers don't make a decision based on their families. Actually, you know, it's a hell of a thing to. I think his little one's too young for school just yet, but it's a hell of a thing to pull all your children out of school and ask your partner to change their job and all the rest of it. So I'm surprised not more footballers don't choose to stay located where their friends, their family, and the schools are. So that's important to him.
So based on that, do you think, not that you're a transfer expert or anything, do you think that while there might have been an interest from Bayern Munich, it was probably a bit premature to assume there was real substance in it?
Well, there was substance. They definitely wanted him. You know, we know that because because the news gets leaked from sources in the club. But absolutely, there was interest from Bayern Munich. There's no doubt about that at all. For Declan, it's just really important to him to, number one, stay put. Also, he's had long, in-depth conversations with Arteta, or at least his dad has, as his agent. He knows his role. He absolutely knows what his role is going to be at Arsenal. And I think he's sold on the project. I think he's probably looked at how quickly Arsenal have overtaken Liverpool in terms of the closest challenger to Manchester City. And I think as any footballer, particularly when you're that good, you're probably looking at Arsenal thinking, okay, they're good. They've got a lot of good component parts. Can I make them better? I think the answer looking at Arsenal is yes. Looking at Bayern Munich, can he make Bayern Munich better? Well, no, because
probably not. It probably just
no
fit
better.
in.
They win it all anyway. What are they going to win? So they win 12 in a row. Where's the challenge on that? He's competitive. He would love that title of maybe wrestling the trophy from Man City. All that stuff would appeal to Declan. Honestly, he's a winner, but he's a winner with, like the old saying goes, it's the iron fist in the velvet glove. He's got a soft exterior. He's funny. He's nice. But make no mistake about it, he is a very, very tough, single-minded guy.
I mean, I can't, I'm a big fan of his anyways, and you're just making me even more of a fan. I think he's the perfect player for us. He's physical. He's got a technical ability. He's at home as a 6. I think at Arsenal, like you said, with the capacity to score more goals, be more on the ball, he could probably add goals to his game. You mentioned he was a centre-back previously in his career. I do think you'll have to fill in at Arsenal with there. And do you think he could do the John Stones role? Because although I think he won't, I do like the fact of what I see with John Stones at City and think, you know what, Declan, there could be a couple of games you could do that for us. Because Arteta has shown that he kind of wants multifunctional players.
Well, we had 2 weeks ago, we had Julian Dix on the channel, and I've thought this for some time. So he got his debut under Bilic, played no time at all, a couple of very short substitute appearances. Pellegrini came in, and he was a centre-back, always a centre-back. Pellegrini came in and said, no, he's a midfielder. But Pellegrini had come in under David Moyes, because David Moyes had also played him at centre-back. Pellegrini comes in. By the time David Moyes came back for his second stint, Declan was an established midfielder, knocking on the door of England, obviously. I think at that point, I never thought Moyes would turn him into a centre-back. So I asked Julian Dix 2 weeks ago. I said, did you, because Julian Dix was the assistant under Bilic. I said, well, did you ever think that he was going to be a midfielder? He said, no, we never thought his feet would be quick enough. So that's what he said on our channel a couple of weeks ago.
Shows how football's a funny old game. Check out that video, folks.
Yeah, and so can he play that John Stones role? Yeah. We got a really, really funny system at West Ham. Well, ultimately, I guess it's proved successful this season. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes our most creative player can be our left back, Aaron Cresswell.
We got Zinchenko. I know how you feel, mate.
Well, yeah. I think yours seems more more innovative. I think ours is almost. I don't know. Ours seems a bit more dated in many respects. So what will happen is Cresswell will go forward, and because he can deliver a good cross, really good, best deliverer of the ball in the club. Well, he was up until recently. Declan Rice would always automatically drop into defence. Always. He's very comfortable there. I'm sure Mikel Arteta will have some innovation, and I'm sure Declan Rice will be part of that. Even looking at what you guys done with Ben White.
That's a good comment.
I certainly never saw a right back there, and watched him play. I thought, wow, okay, he's actually. He makes. I think Arteta makes players better, and that's going to be interesting to watch what he does with Declan.
You touched on it and making players better. As much as you love Declan Rice, and I think he's a great player, obviously he's not the finished article. What would you say are his weaknesses or areas of improvement or question marks, especially if he makes the move to Arsenal, which is expected?
Believe it or not, there ain't a lot.
I love to hear it.
You are getting the finished article, and so you bloody should for 100 million. You don't pay 100 million for potential. He can score more goals. He can improvement, but that's just output. Arsene Wenger years ago, who was, a real innovator himself. Arsene Wenger was asked about young players and asked about technique. And I can't even remember who it was. And it was someone around your first team. And Arsene Wenger was asked, can you improve his technique? And Wenger said, technique. He said, no. Technique
it's gone by then, man. If you ain't got it, you won't have it.
He said, technique is done by 13. He said, if you can't do all that stuff by the time you're 13, forget it.
Yeah.
He said after that, it's athleticism, it's fitness, it's game management, it's learning experiences and confidence. Declan Rice has already got, as I say, if you go and watch any of those videos, the right foot's there, the left foot's there. Can he curl it? Yes. Can he hit it with his laces? Yes. Can he play 1-2s? Can he do the tricks? Can he do the drag backs? Can he do the Cruyff turn? He can do it all. What Arteta's going to give him is the platform in a more attacking team to display more of it. So I think he'll get more assists and he'll get more goals. But he's not going to have to train him how to control the ball or whatever. It's going to have to train him in his system, which I think you'll get more out of him from attacking point of view than we did. But we had to really get all those defensive qualities out of him, because that's what we needed.
I mean, that's even bigger positive for me, really and truly, in relation to the price tag. As you know, crazy money in football. Yeah. I think the best Declan Rice can do is just play well. So then, which I think he will, because he's obviously playing in the Premier League. It's just a different shirt. Nobody cares if you're playing well. Nobody cares about the price tag. We've seen it with Benjamin White for 50 million off the back of one Premier League season. At the time, Van Dijk, there was a lot of question marks. So I've actually got complete confidence in Declan Rice, and if and when it gets over the line. What do you feel about his departure and the knock-on effect of West Ham? Because you've been linked with a couple of players, the Ward-Prowses, the Paulinhos, is it Alvarez of Ajax, I believe. Do you think it's a case of you'll use that money to reinvest several areas of the side or bring in several midfielders?
Well, I think we probably need two. I'd be disappointed with either Ward-Prowse or Paulinho, just because they're both 27, 28 years of age.
Age ain't really kind to them.
No, you never see that money back. And to be fair, we've not been a selling club over the last few years. It's the first player that we've wanted to keep that we've sold it probably since Payet. I might be wrong, but it feels like that. But that was forced upon us, really. I would rather us go with, like the young lad at Bristol City, Scott. Scott,
very good player. He's a Spurs fan growing up, though.
Yunus Musa, was he? Okay. Yunus Musa at Valencia, who was obviously on your
former Arsenal boy.
20-year-old. I'd prefer us to look like that. We're also woefully slow. We're a very, very slow team. I'd like to see a little bit of pace in there. And, let's go and try and find the next Declan Rice. That's what we got to do. I'm not up. Well, it's not up to me ultimately. But, I don't see the benefit of signing a couple of 28-year-olds. I really, really don't. Might be good for the now, but then again, we've got Europe next year, so we've done well. We've got semi-final last year, won it this year. We're back in the Europa next year, so hopefully, whatever we do, it probably means Thomas Souček will have to move out, because the thing is with Rice, he covered up for so many of Souček's inadequacies.
Deficiencies, yeah.
He really was like having two midfielders, Declan. So we probably are we're not going to get a player that can do all those things. So we probably are going to have to get a blocker and a creative player, and then they're going to have to link up with Paqueta, who can basically open the doors.
I know you're not obviously, Fabrizio Romano or David Ornstein or any of them transfer guys, but like, when do you think this will actually get concluded? Because I'm pretty sure you're bored of it. I'm bored of it. We keep hearing Arsenal and West Ham agreeing a fee. When you read the articles, you don't hear anything about a medical taking place and significant things of that. So, like, if you had to guess, when do you see this kind of being done?
Well, they're playing chess at the moment. So Declan's team they've got the ear of a Telegraph journalist, Matt Law. So you get your stuff from there. Our owner, David Sullivan, he speaks to everyone. He speaks to every West Ham website. Honestly, you can email him and he will answer you. He leaks stuff to TalkSport. And then you've got Arsenal obviously leaking stuff as well. So David Sullivan's there saying, we haven't received the bid. Arsenal were there saying, we're about to make a bid. And what they're doing is you're almost thrashing out and doing all you're seeing is a public negotiation. That's it at the moment. Arsenal know they're going to buy him. West Ham know they're going to sell him to Arsenal. And Declan Rice knows that he is going to move to Arsenal. The only thing yet to be considered is the price. And here's where it gets interesting. Normally, if you buy a player for £50 million, you're going to, and there's no add-ons, and he's on a 5-year deal, you pay 10 million each year. That's just how a transfer is conducted in the Premier League. We're asking for the set fee for it to be paid in 2 years. So if it's 80 million plus 20 million add-ons, we want 40 million now and 40 million next season. That's what we're asking for. That's going to be the stumbling block.
Rightly so.
Yes, absolutely, because he's our asset. And the other thing is we've not been very good at buying and selling. And we've just wasted a lot of money on a striker in Scamacca. So we're going to have to deal with financial fair play if we get it wrong. So for us to reinvest, we need to be able to sort of spend that money now. It needs to be done quickly, though, for you and us. You need the deal done, because Declan Rice won't be the only player you're buying this season, I'm sure. And we need it in because I'm sure we've got a little bit of money there, but we need that money in because we need to get the replacements in. We're after Harvey Barnes. If we hang about, someone else is going to go and buy him. And Harvey Barnes is perfect for West Ham because he's not quite good enough to play for a Champions League team. Well, he is a squad player, but to start he wouldn't start every game on the left for you. He wouldn't start every game on the left for Man City. However, he would start every game on the left for West Ham. But there are other teams like West Ham. He would probably start every game on the left for Aston Villa and so on and so forth. So we can't afford to hang about. We need the deal done quickly. And I don't think this is going to drag on midway through July. Midway through June. It's getting done in June. I'm pretty sure of it.
I hope so, because you do hear that Arsenal, like you said, West Ham want to get it done so they can just keep it moving and reinvest. You hear Arsenal wanting to get it done so he can fly off in pre-season and reintegrate. And I think on top of Zinchenko and Jesus, obviously just being good players, that actually helped them because you're bedded in early. Like you said earlier, Mikel Arteta is going to demand certain things of you. The quicker you can learn exactly what the gaffer requires from you, the better. My last question for you, actually, before I let you get out of it, what do you make of David Moyes, and is he staying at West Ham? Because I thought personally, as an ignorant non-West Ham fan, that a bit like Declan Rice, you've won a European trophy, congratulations again, and you kind of bow out at the top, but it seems that he might actually stay. Like, what's your thoughts on him? Is he the guy for you lot?
Well, not long term, but I mean, we've waited 43 years for a trophy. He's deserved to see out the last year of his contract. Those are my thoughts. They're not mirrored. There's a lot of West Ham fans,
as you'd imagine. So yeah,
if I was told now he was going to sign a new 5-year deal, I'd think, oh God, you mentioned it. We won the FA Youth Cup. We got a really good crop of young talent.
Got some very good players coming through.
Yeah, they're good. Someone needs to come in that's going to allow them to transition into the first team. David Moyes is not that guy. He's really, really not that guy. As I say, it took Pellegrini to come in between him to turn Declan Rice into a first-team player and a midfielder. I'm sure David Moyes wouldn't have done it, which is why I asked Julian Dix that question. Long term, no, but it would seem ungrateful to get rid of him now. The other thing, the problem is, the club was going to be sold this year, West Ham.
Really?
Yeah, because when we signed over to go to the Olympic Stadium, we had something called an embarrassment clause, which meant if West Ham sold the club before 2023, we had to pay a commission to the taxpayer. After 2023, we didn't, because 10 years had elapsed or whatever since the agreement had been signed, something like that. Maybe 5 years, but whatever it was. They were always waiting, the owners, until they weren't going to get a penalty before selling the club. Unfortunately, last year, David Gold died. And what happened is because he died, his shares went into probate. And obviously, with something like probate, you have to pay inheritance tax and stuff like that. So it's complicated. You can't just go in. He's basically left the shares to his children, and you can absolutely understand if his children thought they got £250 million worth of shares, and then actually they're probably not going to be keen to sell them quickly and get whatever £180 million from. Although, look, to you and me, £180 million, lovely.
Yeah, life changing to say the least.
Isn't it just
more than that?
Yeah, for sure. But for them, if you are already close to being a billionaire, that sort of money matters. So that's delayed it. And I think what's going to happen is West Ham will get sold next season. So probably the owner at the moment, David Sullivan's thinking, I'll wait, let the gold shares get sorted out. I won't appoint a new manager. Then the new guy, we probably already know who's coming in, or they do. He's going to come in, appoint his own team. So I'd imagine the calendar sort of works out for all concerned. And at least, you know what? At least we know that David Moyes will take Europe next year seriously. And you know what? We'll have a fair crack at it.
I'm wishing you lot all the best in the Europa League. I know I said last question, but as fans of two clubs who have obviously moved stadium now, I've been to Upton Park and I've been to the Olympic Stadium initially when it opened. Is it feeling like home now, over there in Stratford?
I mean, it feels familiar, and you have a good day out there, but it's so far from the pitch. That's the issue.
Yeah.
And yes, it can feel familiar, and you can have a good day out. And again, does it feel like that? Yeah, I guess it does. It's growing into itself, but it's still miles away from the pitch. And we have several games each season where the referee's having a stinker, and we can't influence.
You can't put any pressure, really.
We can't. We're miles away. We're absolutely miles away. And for me, my eyesight's terrible. I often, be sat next to one of my mates, or sat next to me son, going, "Who's that? Who scored?" That's what it's like. So it's got a bit like that, really. As a venue, it's like I went to the Olympics. Olympics were brilliant in London. 2012 Olympics were off the chart, honestly. As a sporting event, wonderful. It's not a football stadium, though, and until that's sorted out, I don't think it'll ever truly be class. I watched the Man City and Inter Milan, the Champions League final.
Yeah,
and as you watched it, when they were doing the celebrating afterwards, they jumped over the advertising hoardings, and they all went to go and see the City fans behind the goals in Istanbul. Wow, and that's even further away than ours. I thought it's just such a bad look, and I actually felt sorry for those Man City fans. You probably shouldn't.
All that money going over there, really, and it still feels a bit artificial for all your success.
It does, and you're miles away, and that was their moment that they waited for sort of forever. So I'm not a fan of converted athletic stadiums. Has to be said. Yours was purpose built. It's a totally different kettle of fish.
I mean, Gonzo, man, this has been fantastic, man. Like I said, I have to say thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for doing this with myself. Let people know where they can find you. As I said, all your information of you guys is going to be in the description and whatnot, so they'll know where to go. Let people know what content you've got to come out and all of that stuff, mate.
Well, listen, thank you. Like yourself, we're going to be scratching around for content in the transfer window.
Amen.
We're doing lots of transfer updates. You know what it's like, mate. Trying to get as many videos up as you can. If you just type Hammers Chat into Google or YouTube, you'll find us. We've got a couple of channels like most people do, trying to carve out our way in the YouTube and the social media world. And we're just going to be, like yourself, looking forward to next season. But no, I really enjoyed it, mate. Great questions, and thanks for having us on.
No, man, once again, thank you, man. So yeah, people, follow the Hammers Chat. Like he said, just type it in on YouTube, find it, subscribe, hit the notifications, and take in some real good football content, man. I'm going to let you get out of here. Once again, big thank you, Gonzo. And on that, Declan Rice, we're gone, man.